Most people, when they first boot up Deadlock, will just load into a random game and kind of see what happens and learn on the fly. And that is not the way to learn this game. Hey everyone, this is Connor here at Dead Unlocked, and listen, I know Deadlock can be really intimidating and overwhelming to get started, and so today I want to go through minute by minute how I would spend my first hour in this game to get all the foundation pieces you need to get started playing Deadlock and get into some normal games right after. Alright, so you've loaded into Deadlock. Welcome, here it is. Where you are to start is a place called the Hideout. Essentially, this space replaces the main menu screen in Deadlock, and this is where you can go to play the game. You can access the game's tutorial over here. You can watch replays over there. You can check news over here. And this room over here, the Atrium practice range, is actually something that I think is arguably one of the most important elements of the game. And right here is where I want all players to stop and take a second. So the first step for any new player coming to Deadlock and how I would spend your first 10 minutes in this game is on the select hero screen. You can just hit escape and go to swap hero, and this will change what hero you're controlling in the hideout. And what I would do is I would, by whatever process you deem necessary, kind of think about what hero you're most interested in playing from the beginning. And there's a lot of different ways to go about evaluating this based on kind of your preferences as a player and kind of what you're looking for in a hero. So obviously you can go based on art and based on vibes, usually where I start, and just flip through the hero roster. Deadlock's really cool in that every hero has this fun kind of splash art screen. A lot of these heroes may get remodeled, like especially ones like Yamato and Grey Talon and maybe some others. So artwork could change, but generally you can get the vibe of the hero based on their artwork and then also based on these three words here. So Bebop is someone who hooks you in, uses his bombs, and punches you. And, you know, Celeste is a performer, disruptive, dazzling hero, right? So you can get flavor text and you can learn about all the heroes this way. Flip through this screen, see if any art jumps out to you to get started. Let's say you landed on Paige and you think Paige looks really cool. You like the idea of being a support player, maybe helpful, protector, book smart sounds interesting to you. But let's say maybe you're instead a player who doesn't really care about visuals and you want to know about the numbers of the hero and what they actually do. There's some other really cool resources here where you can hover over these right side of the screen icons to learn more about her weapon, which is called Chapter's End. You can find her vitality stats if you want to get into the numbers, spirit stats. These are all probably not going to mean much to new players, but if it's a way that you like evaluating a hero, go for it. And the final means that I would kind of go about evaluating which hero you might want to play, maybe you're a lore fiend and you love kind of digging into the backstory of these heroes. Luckily, you can click on this right here and you can see the backstory of any hero in the game. A lot of them honestly have really interesting ones, so this is a pretty fun place to start if you like lore. Deadlock has some really great lore. The last kind of metric for choosing a character, I would say, is what their abilities do. Sometimes you might like how a character looks, but their playstyle really doesn't actually line up with how you want to play the game. So if you want to get like a survey of what each character's abilities do, you can hover over them here. You'll get a little bit of flavor text kind of saying what the ability generally does, and then you can also see what benefits you get for upgrading it in the game, all those kinds of things. But if you're interested in playing a hero and you care about their abilities, I would actually just go ahead and lock in a hero and then get into the Atrium and try out their abilities, see what takes. So I've chosen Apollo because he looks cool and it sounds like he has a pretty awesome ultimate, so maybe I want to play some Apollo. The first thing I would actually do is punch this button right here. This is going to turn off all cooldowns in this area, and this is also going to allow you to use your stamina quicker. And then I would actually spend the next 10 minutes just toggling around with abilities. Make sure that this hero does things that you think are cool or interesting, and just test out what the abilities look like and how they feel to use. For example, Apollo's 1 kind of shoots him in the air like that. That might not be something you would expect. His 3 is something you would use to dash in any direction and deal damage. And I can instantly use those abilities again and again to practice my mechanics and get used to how these heroes feel before jumping into a game. So now we're about 15 minutes in. You've tested out a few heroes. You've tried some abilities. You feel pretty good about maybe a hero you want to play. Maybe I want to play Apollo. He seems cool. He's one of the new heroes. I'm going to try out Apollo. Our next step is to start looking at items and builds and how those play into how you play your hero. And to access this screen, you simply hit the B button, and this is going to pull up the shop. So what is currently open is one of my personal builds. Actually, I've made a build for Apollo called Flawless Fencer. These builds are really easy to make yourself, but I wouldn't get into that quite yet. Instead, I would actually just spend about 10 minutes here, however long your attention span can handle, and just click through the different tabs of items. The orange items here are weapon items, so all of these things are going to, in one way or another, make your weapon stronger. The green items are vitality items. Those are going to make you hardier, have more health, better resistances, things like that. And then spirit is going to enhance your abilities and make them hit harder, do different things in the game. So I would spend some time just reading these items. Maybe you are curious to see just what a build looks like. If that's the case, then I would go here and go to build browser in the top right, and then look through some builds. These public builds are by a lot of top creators or just people who commonly make builds, and they're a good way to kind of get a sense of what items are commonly bought for those heroes. Now, I wouldn't get into trying to figure out how those builds work necessarily. I would instead start with kind of the granularity of the items themselves, hover over them, and start reading some of this text and trying to figure out what this might mean. And the beautiful thing about these items is you can buy them and try them out without even going into a game. So let's say I want to try out my kind of early build for Apollo here. So I'm going to buy all my kind of early game items that I might have, my first 12,000 souls or so. And I just want to see what these items do in practice. So now I've got all these items. You see Torment Pulse is proccing, doing that damage. I have cooldowns turned off, so it's just constantly proccing. Pretty funny. But yeah, maybe I want to see like what some of this looks like. How does it change my weapon damage? How does it change my spirit damage? You can try all those things without even loading into a game of Deadlock. I also wanted to quickly show off the Sandbox for new players. This is accessed through a teleporter in the atrium, the room that we were just in. You just stand in it for a few seconds and you'll end up here. This is an area that some people use more than others. It's a little bit more interactive and, I don't know, more sandboxy of a way to practice items and spawn enemy heroes and see what it looks like in a lane and all that kind of different stuff. So this is an area you can continue to kind of mess around in a low stakes way. You can buy items, you can see how the soul mechanics work, you can fight minions, you can do a lot of testing of kind of the mechanics of how Deadlock's game actually works out in the Sandbox. So now we should be about 30 minutes in. You should have an idea of what hero you might want to play, and you should have an idea of how some items work, and even maybe trying some of those in the Sandbox. So now you might think, well, I'm just going to play a Deadlock game. I'm probably ready. No, you're not. Actually, what you're going to do for the next 30 minutes is you're going to play a bot match. These bot matches are incredible for a few reasons. Number one, they're low stakes. You're not tanking anyone else's MMR when you play a bot match and throw. They're great for experimenting, and it's actually the only way in Deadlock you can queue a hero and guarantee that you're going to get that hero. So you can do this a few different ways. You can play a street brawl, match if you would prefer, but I would just choose a hard standard bot match and then pick the hero you are on. So again, this is the only mode where you can just pick one hero, hit the play button, and you will load into a game as that hero. But I would genuinely do this to start and spend your next 30 minutes playing a bot game to see what a game of Deadlock actually feels like. Now, why I'm suggesting you play a bot match before a standard match is because inevitably when you get into that bot match, you're going to have several moments of panic or confusion when you're faced with different decisions in Deadlock. And this is a really core part of what makes Deadlock so intimidating, is even just walking to the shop with 800 souls at the start of the game can feel like a decision that induces some anxiety. What item should I buy? Should I buy a vitality item because I'm low health? Should I buy healing right because I need to heal? Should I go ahead and buy aggressively? What gun or spirit items do I buy? It raises a litany of questions, and so many different things in Deadlock do this. And one of the worst things is feeling like you have to make a decision without all the data. And so what I think you can do in these first few bot games is start to kind of figure out what decisions make you feel this way in a game of Deadlock, and then we'll work in future videos to kind of remedy how can we make those decisions easier and easier to make. Plan on expanding on this video a lot in future videos. I really want educational content to become more of the heart of the channel. I've been seeing so many new players come to this game, even in my own personal life. I work at a university. A lot of my students are getting stoked about Deadlock, and I've watched so many of them just hop in and then hop into a random game and honestly go quiet pretty fast because they're just so overwhelmed or they're getting gapped by another player or whatever it might be. It's a really bad feeling, and it can turn you off of a game like Deadlock so quickly. And so I really would urge players that are coming to Deadlock in your first hour, slow down, don't hop right into a game. This isn't Overwatch, this isn't Rivals where you can just hop in and spam buttons and be okay. You have to make a lot of decisions throughout a game of Deadlock, and they really can pile up and stress you out if you're not careful. But with some patience and kind of taking your first hour in Deadlock slow, I really do think this is a game that is for everyone. I just made a video about how Deadlock seems to have some of the most transferable skills and opportunities for players from different genres to come over and express their skill in really unique and interesting ways. So whether you're an FGC player, strategy game player, hero shooter player, whatever, I really think Deadlock could be a place for you. Just don't rush it. Give it some time. This is a really complicated game. There's a lot of moving pieces, and so we want to take it chunk by chunk. I'm going to have a lot more videos coming out in the next few weeks, getting into more and more of kind of how I would go about instructing the new player to come to Deadlock. I'm not trying to flex here. I've got a master's in education, so I feel pretty good about my approach to pedagogy when it comes to learning and ascending the kind of chain of mastery as it is. So I hope this all has been good to start out. I wanted to start off vague and really go from a top-down level, and we'll get into more specifics of how to learn this game, like I said, in the coming weeks. But As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. Let me know if you've gotten any new players that have come to Deadlock and you have any tips of how I might advise them. Definitely let me know in the comments. But as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. From our house to yours, we'll see you all next time here at Dead Unlocked.